The secret psychiatric experiments of the 1950s. MKUltra. According to official records, America in the 1950s was a nation of prosperity and promise. Yet behind the bright smiles of suburban families, something darker stirred. In laboratories, hospitals, and hidden rooms scattered across the United States, and even beyond its borders, the government conducted experiments on its own citizens, not to heal them, not to protect them, but to break them apart and put them back together again. Experiments that sought to erase memory, bend will, and hollow out the very essence of identity. They called it MKUltra. The words hang heavy in the air. To understand what this program truly was, one must step back into the years immediately following the Second World War, a time when the lines between science and nightmare blurred in the shadow of global conflict. The seeds of fear. The Second World War had ended in 1945, but its scars remained. Cities lay in ruins, families were fractured, and entire nations faced questions of survival. The United States, now a superpower, entered an uneasy peace that quickly shifted into suspicion. The Soviet Union, once an ally, became the primary adversary. But while tanks and atomic bombs defined the physical struggle of the Cold War, another battlefront was emerging, one fought inside the human mind. Evidence uncovered in the aftermath of the war revealed the depths to which humanity could descend in the name of science. In Germany, Nazi doctors had subjected prisoners to horrific experiments, plunging men into freezing water to study hypothermia, forcing inhalation of chemical gases, and attempting crude surgeries to explore endurance and obedience. Many of these so-called doctors were tried at Nuremberg and condemned as criminals. But not all of them met justice. In a secret program known as Operation Paperclip, dozens of Nazi scientists were quietly transported to the United States. Officially, they were rebranded, their pasts scrubbed clean. In practice, they were given laboratories, funding, and protection. Their knowledge, however tainted, was deemed too valuable to waste. The United States, desperate to surpass its Soviet rivals, welcomed them with open arms. Meanwhile, across the Pacific, intelligence reports surfaced about Japanese Unit 731, a covert military group in Manchuria that had performed biological warfare experiments on prisoners of war. Vivisections without anesthesia, exposure to plague, frostbite studies, atrocities beyond comprehension. Instead of condemning every member, the U.S. secured much of their research in exchange for immunity. It was a grim calculus. If America did not claim this knowledge, perhaps the Soviets would. And if the Soviets learned to manipulate the human body and mind, the balance of power could tilt catastrophically. The brainwashing panic. In the early 1950s, American soldiers returned from the Korean War with strange, disturbing testimonies. Some prisoners of war confessed to committing atrocities against civilians. Others denounced their homeland, praising communism with glassy eyes and mechanical voices. Had they truly betrayed their country, or had something been done to them? The press called it brainwashing. The idea that enemies of the United States had discovered techniques to seize control of the human mind spread like wildfire. Though the reality was far more complex, relying on exhaustion, deprivation, and coercion rather than secret formulas, the panic was real. In Washington, officials asked a chilling question. If the Soviets and Chinese could reshape human thought, What was to stop them from turning entire populations against the West? For the CIA, formed in 1947 and quickly expanding under the guidance of director Allen Dulles, this was not merely paranoia. It was a call to arms. The United States needed its own tools of psychological warfare, and it needed them fast. The birth of MKUltra. On April 13, 1953, in a climate thick with fear and ambition, Dulles authorized the creation of MKUltra, a covert research program that would explore every possible method of mind control. To lead it, he selected Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, a chemist with a club foot and a stutter, yet known inside the agency as a man of relentless determination. Gottlieb had spent years experimenting with hallucinogens, toxins, and chemicals. Now he was given nearly unlimited power to pursue the most dangerous and ethically dubious paths imaginable. Officially, MKUltra was described as behavioral research. Unofficially, it was an exploration of how far the human mind could be pushed, broken, and reshaped. Gottlieb's philosophy was stark. To create a new personality, one must first destroy the old. Erase memory, reduce the mind to a blank slate, and then rebuild it with suggestions, commands, and implanted beliefs. To accomplish this, MKUltra poured money into more than 150 sub-projects. Some were run through respected universities. Others were hidden in military hospitals, prisons, and psychiatric institutions. Few of the doctors and researchers involved knew they were working for the CIA. Those who did rarely asked questions. And at the heart of it all was a single substance: LSD. The weapon of the mind, lysergic acid diethylamide, had been synthesized in Switzerland in 1938, but its strange properties were not fully recognized until the 1940s. By the early 1950s, the CIA saw it as nothing less than a possible key to the human psyche. Could LSD be used to force confessions, to erase memory, to make soldiers fearless, or conversely, to render them incapable of fighting? No theory was too wild, no idea too outlandish. Gottlieb acquired massive supplies of the drug, often smuggled into the country, or produced secretly in laboratories under CIA control. Experiments began. Some test subjects were informed, but many were not. Students at prestigious universities, lured by offers of quick cash, swallowed capsules without knowing their origin. Prisoners were given doses in exchange for promises of parole that never came. Even CIA employees themselves were secretly drugged, often at office parties or retreats, as their colleagues observed the effects. The results were unpredictable, sometimes euphoric, sometimes nightmarish. Some subjects laughed uncontrollably, others descended into terror. A few never recovered, but Gottlieb pressed on. For him, each reaction was a piece of the puzzle. Still, LSD was only the beginning. MKUltra reached far deeper, exploring every conceivable path to control. And it is here, in the stories of these experiments, that the true horror begins to emerge, where science bleeds into cruelty, and where official denials cannot erase the scars left on human lives. In the next section, we will step into those hidden rooms where doctors and agents played God with fragile minds.